Everything you're about to hear is true. My fiancé left me 3 months before our wedding because of his mother, and I chose to protect my heart instead of giving into her manipulations. Now I know it was the best decision of my life, though back then, the pain pierced me like a red-hot blade in my chest. That choice opened the door to a life I never even dreamed of. My name is Emily. I'm 28. I'm marketing manager at a small firm on Madison Avenue in New York, where the windows overlook honking taxis and the glittering lights of Manhattan. I have no children, but my parents in Albany, New York, my dad, a construction worker with calloused hands, and my mom, a school-aide with a warm smile, are my rock. John, my ex-fiancé, is 31, a financial analyst in a Wall Street skyscraper where elevators hum and the view stretches over New York Harbor. His parents, Susan and Richard, live in Westchester. Susan, a housewife who boasts about her high society connections in Scarsdale, and Richard, who works in media. We were together for 3 years, starting with candlelit dinners at Le Bernardin on West 51st Street, where the air smelled of seafood and fine wine, and walks along Kenai Island, where the salty breeze mingled with the scent of hot dogs. Our apartment in Brooklyn Heights had a balcony where we sipped coffee, watching Manhattan's skyline glow at sunrise. Those days warmed my soul, filling me with hope for a home in the suburbs and maybe a family someday. It all began in 2021 at a party at the Dead Rabbit on Water Street. Dim lantern light cast shadows, and the air was heavy with the scent of whiskey and oak barrels. John approached me, his smile warm. "You look like you know all of New York's secrets." I laughed, and we talked until midnight, his stories of childhood in Westchester and dreams of seeing the world sparking something in my eyes. My heart raced. My cheeks flushed with warmth, and a bubbly excitement surged through me like champagne in a glass. It felt like the start of something magical, each glance onward drawing us closer, the world fading into a soft blur. Weekends became our escape. We fed pigeons in Central Park, snapped photos by the Bethesda fountain, its marble reflecting our smiles under dappled sunlight. That summer, we traveled to the Hudson Valley, staying at a cozy inn with creaky wooden floors, where mornings smelled of fresh pastries and evenings by the fireplace were spent planning our wedding and September ceremony at the plaza on Fifth Avenue, elegant but affordable, dreaming of our future together. During walks in Central Park, as we fed pigeons, John shared his dream of starting a consulting firm, and I saw his eyes light up with ambition. I was on cloud 9, my heart singing with joy, wrapped in a cozy blanket of happiness that made every day feel like a fairy tale. But I didn't notice the shadow of John's family, especially his mother Susan, creeping closer, ready to tear it all apart. The first cracks appeared when we announced our engagement. John proposed in the Hudson Valley by a fireplace. The flames crackled, and the air carried the scent of apple pie from the kitchen below. He got down on one knee, the ring sparkling in the candlelight, my hands trembling, tears of joy streaming down my face. I said yes, my heart pounding like it might burst, a wave of love overwhelming me, making my whole body shake with excitement and disbelief. Back in New York, Susan stepped in. "Emily, darling, I'll help," she said, but her eyes were cold as the winter wind sweeping through the streets. My choice of venue was too modest, my dress from Fifth Avenue cute but simple. Evenings in our Brooklyn Heights apartment, where Manhattan's lights danced in the windows like distant stars, the joy of wedding planning slipped away like sand through my fingers. John said, "Just go along with it, Mom knows best." But I noticed him whispering with her on the phone on the balcony, "Mom, I'll think about it." He claimed it was about the guest list, but his eyes darted away, like he was hiding something. My stomach twisted, as if I'd swallowed a piece of ice that wouldn't melt, sending shivers through me and making my palms sweat with anxiety. Susan's control tightened like a vise. Her dress fitting on Madison Avenue, she leaned in, her sharp perfume, like artificial flowers, stinging my nose. "Emily, work on your posture in our circle. Grace matters." Her words cut like a blade, slicing through my confidence. leaving a sharp pain in my chest despite her polite smile that never reached her eyes. I felt small and vulnerable, my cheeks burning with humiliation, but a storm of indignation brewed inside, my pulse racing. I told John, expecting my fiancé to stand up for me, but he brushed it off. She just wants the best. My heart sank, disappointment settling like a heavy stone in my chest, making it hard to breathe, sadness mixing with irritation that he couldn't see my pain. He grew distant, staying late at work, avoiding wedding talk, clutching his phone like a lifeline. One evening, after a long day, gripping a warm coffee cup for Madison Avenue, I saw him slam his laptop shut. Work, he muttered, but I caught a glimpse of a message from Susan. Later, I checked his phone, shameful, but my gut screamed something was wrong and found her text. Is she really right for your future? It hit like a punch to the gut, my breath catching, tears welling out, a hot wave of betrayal washing over me, leaving me dazed and heartbroken. I walked alone through the Brooklyn Botanic Garden, breathing in the scent of blooming roses under the sun, watching children laugh by a softly rippling pond. It calmed me slightly, the fresh air clearing my head, but one thought gnawed at me. She's turning him against me, and he's listening, my chest tightening with fear and anger. The tension spilled into work, creeping in like fog over the East River. My colleague, Megan, with whom I lunched at a cafe on 34th Street smelling of fresh coffee and warm pastries, grew distant, her usual chatter fading. Over lunch, she said, I heard you're having issues with your future mother-in-law. Someone had called the office asking about me. My fork froze mid-air, a chill running down my spine, confusion and suspicion flooding me. Who? I asked, my voice sharper than intended. She shrugged, avoiding my gaze, which only heightened my anxiety, my thoughts racing. Later, an assistant mentioned a family friend had inquired about my reputation, her tone uncertain. I suspected Susan, but had no proof, the uncertainty gnawing like an itch. John dismissed it, you're paranoid. His words stung, as if he called me crazy, widening the gulf between us, my heart aching with hurt and loneliness. On our apartment's balcony, hearing the hum of traffic from the Brooklyn Bridge and the cries of gulls over the East River, I felt trust cracking like thin ice underfoot, ready to shatter. The conflict erupted at the dinner at John's parents' house in Westchester on Cortlandt Avenue. Their friends, Patricia and Richard, a wealthy couple from their Scottsdale circle, were there. The dining room gleamed silver cutlery shone under the chandelier, the aroma of roasted duck mingling with fresh roses from the garden. I wore a simple dress. Susan remarked, Emily, you look cozy. Her tone was polite, but her eyes were cold as the Hudson River in January, sending a shiver through me. At dinner, Patricia asked about my childhood. I smiled. Summers at camp in Albany, telling stories by the campfire. Silence fell like a heavy fog, compressing the room. Susan said how quaint, a simple life. Her words dripped with condescension, hitting like a slap, my cheeks burning with shame as anger simmered inside. Later in the kitchen, the coffee machine hummed softly, the aroma of fresh espresso filling the air. She cornered me. Emily, you're not from our circle. John needs someone like Victoria, his ex with a house in the Hamptons and connections. You're sweet, but you're holding him back. Her words burned. My hands trembled, the cup nearly slipping from my grasp, rage and pain clouding my eyes with unbidden tears. That's cruel, I said, my voice shaking with emotion, anger, and hurt knotting tightly in my chest. She smirked. Your reaction proves I'm right, no class. Tears stung my eyes, but I held them back, refusing to let her win, though inside I felt broken, my confidence crumbling. On the drive home along the West Side Highway, where city lights flashed like colored streaks and the wind whistled through the cracked window, I poured my heart out to John, tears streaming down my cheeks, my voice breaking on every word. I expected my fiancé to defend me, to hold me and say it was a mistake. But he said, maybe you misunderstood, Mom's just honest. It was a betrayal, a knife in the back, the pain so sharp it stole my breath, sobs shaking my body. My chest tightened, breathing impossible, as if the air had thickened, crushing me with disappointment and grief. At home, where his cologne mixed with the scent of my morning coffee, everything felt alien and cold. He admitted, "Mom says our worlds don't align," and I'm starting to agree. My world collapsed, love unraveling like worn fabric, a deep sorrow settling in my bones, leaving me utterly alone. What would you have done in my place? Fought for a fading love or walked away to save yourself? The breaking point came at a cafe on Union Square. Susan requested a meeting on neutral ground, she said. She sat with a latte, steam rising in lazy curls, the air thick with the scent of strong coffee and fresh pastries from the counter. "Emily, I'm sorry if I hurt you," she said, but her eyes were dry, her smile thin as a blade, devoid of warmth. Then she added, "Think about the kids, your genes won't set them up for success." My face flushed, anger flaring like a wildfire, my heart pounding like a drum in my ears, outrage and disbelief overwhelming me. I couldn't believe she stooped so low, the insult cutting deep, leaving me trembling with rage. John sat silently, tearing a napkin to shreds, avoiding my gaze like a coward. I stood, my pulse throbbing in my temples. "John, choose her or the wedding." He looked at his mother, then at me, and whispered, "I can't push her away." The floor seemed to vanish beneath me, emptiness swallowing the air from my lungs, devastation washing over me. I slipped off the ring, placed it on the table, the metal's clink rang like a gunshot in the quiet cafe, and walked out, tears burning my cheeks, but my back was straight, a spark of strength born in the pain. Packing was torture, each item a stab of memory. In our Brooklyn Heights apartment, I boxed up books, clothes, photos from our Hudson Valley trip, the smell of cardboard and dust mingling with the scent of our shared life. Each item cut deep, his jacket in the closet, a concert ticket from Barry Ballroom on Delancey Street tucked in a drawer. Folding clothes stirred waves of nostalgia and grief, my hands trembling, holding back sobs, emptiness growing with each sealed box. I moved to my friend Lisa's place in Dumbo, a small room with a view of the noisy Brooklyn Bridge, where lights twinkled at night like distant promises. Lisa, my best friend, brewed tea, the chamomile steam soothing my nerves as I cried into a soaked pillow, my chest hollow, as if my heart had been ripped out, leaving me empty and aching. John texted, "We need a break." I replied, "It's over." A month later, I met Mark, John's brother, at the cafe on Grand Street. Over coffee, steaming with a hint of cinnamon, he said, "Mom's always like this, John's in trouble." Guilt flickered in his eyes, but I felt on the anger I wasn't going to save someone who chose her, resolve hardening like steel in my veins. Things grew darker, shadows lengthening. Susan called, her voice trembling, "Emily, John's drinking himself to death, only you can help." Her tears sounded fake, like a bad actress reciting lines. She called daily, her persistence grating, then showed up at my Madison Avenue office with lilies, their cloying scent clashing with the coffee in the lobby, making me nauseous. Colleagues whispered behind my back, their murmurs fueling paranoia, irritation, and fear mounting. I asked security to keep her out, but she didn't stop, her tenacity unnerving. Mark warned, "Don't trust her, she's manipulating you." His voice shook, as if he knew more, amplifying my anxiety, my thoughts racing to the worst. One night in Soho, under flickering streetlights casting long shadows, with the cold smell of the Hudson River in the air, someone followed me. I turned to Susan, holding a bottle of wine, her face lit by the glow. "Emily, let's talk," she said, her voice too soft, almost syrupy, sparking alarm. My instinct screamed danger. I refused the wine, my heart pounding as I backed away. Later, Mark revealed she laced it with a sedative, hoping I'd fall ill so John would pity me and return a chilling attempt to poison me to tighten her grip on her son. Shock crashed over me like icy water, my hands shaking, my throat tight with horror and disgust. But that wasn't all. Susan dug up old college photos of John's legal troubles he'd hidden and blackmailed him, threatening to send them to his Wall Street boss if he didn't fix things with me. Mark showed me recordings, her voice cold and calculated, devoid of remorse. She didn't want us back together. She wanted to break John, who was slipping from her control after our breakup, using me as leverage to punish his defiance. My stomach churned, fear mixing with revulsion, leaving me nauseated and vulnerable. Then came a theft that shook me to my core. My grandmother's locked a simple heirloom with a smiling photo vanished from my apartment. I tore the place apart, panic gripping my chest, my breathing shallow, but it was gone. A week later, John texted, "Did you sell the locket? Mom saw it at the pawn shop." I was horrified. I hadn't sold anything, the accusation burning like salt in a wound. Mark found the locket in Susan's Westchester home, hidden in her jewelry box. She'd stolen it during a friendly visit, faking pawnshop photos to paint me as a liar and erode John's trust, strengthening her hold over him. The betrayal seared, anger and helplessness raging in my chest, tears streaming as I clutched the returned locket, feeling violated and furious. The plot thickened when Mark, over coffee on Grand Street, the air laced with the calming scent of espresso and cinnamon, confessed Susan had conspired with Patricia, her Scarsdale friend, to spread rumors about my unreliability in their circle. Patricia called my colleagues, hinting at my personal issues in a vague, malicious way. Learning this, anger flared like a wildfire, but fear gripped me. How far would she go? This conspiracy revealed Susan's desperation to control everything, even my reputation, leaving me paranoid. I sat in Lisa's Dumbo apartment, the hum of traffic from the Brooklyn Bridge echoing in my ears, reminding me of the city's chaos, my hands trembling as I grasped the depth of her schemes, a cold fear settling inside. The climax came one night outside my Dumbo apartment. Streetlights glowed dimly, the hallway smelling of dampness and faint whiskey from somewhere nearby. Susan brought John, drunk, red-eyed, and staggering. She stood with a mask of sympathy, but her eyes gleamed with calculation. The door creaked, light spilling onto their faces, highlighting John's exhaustion. "Emily, I'm sorry," he mumbled, his words slurring from alcohol. I stood firm, strength rising like a tide. Get out, get out." John turned to Susan. "This was your idea, and it was wrong. I failed her." His voice broke, pain raw like an open wound. They left, their footsteps fading in the hall, and I shut the door, a weight lifting from my shoulders like a storm passing, leaving clear skies. Mark later said John joined Alcoholics Anonymous on Broadway, started therapy, trying to rebuild his life without her influence. I felt a pang of sadness, a shadow in my heart for what we'd had, but no regrets. I chose myself, and it was liberation. Susan didn't stop, her persistence like a weed that wouldn't die. She called my boss on Madison Avenue, posing as a relative, hinting my personal issues were harming my work. Megan, my office friend, told me over coffee on 34th Street, the espresso's aroma failing to dull my anger, which turned to resolve. I explained to my boss, who supported me, but the sting lingered like a splinter under my skin. In the office, watching Manhattan skyscrapers glow over the East River at sunset, I wondered how far would she go to control. I started checking emails for unknown senders, my heart racing at every unexpected call, anxiety becoming routine. But I moved forward, reclaiming my life piece by piece. I rented an apartment in Greenwich Village, near Washington Square, where the morning breeze carried freshness and pigeons circled the park's arch. Work took off. I got a promotion, led a team, control returning like an old friend. Evenings, I strolled through the park, the Hudson's waves lapping the shore, smelling of wet grass and freedom, inspiring me. There, I met Alex, a 30-year-old teacher from an Upper East Side school, with a kind smile and a calm voice that soothed me. His family in Connecticut welcomed me like one of their own, serving homemade blueberry pie, the warm crust crumbling under my fork, their laughter filling the air with warmth. Alex and I ate pizza under the Brooklyn Bridge, the cheese hot and stretchy, laughing as we planned a road trip along California's Highway 1. When I told him about John, he listened without interrupting. His embrace the safe harbor where I felt protected. For the first time, I felt whole, like sunlight breaking through clouds after a long storm, warming me from within. We spent weekends exploring the village, sharing coffee at a cafe on Bleecker Street, the air rich with the scent of roasted beans and hope. I started journaling again, the scratch of pen on paper soothing my soul, each word a step toward healing, letting go of the past like leaves falling in autumn. Susan made one last attempt. My phone rang an unknown number. Her voice, "Emily, you're destroying John with your new boyfriend. He lost his job. He's drinking." Her words stung like thorns, but I knew her game, her manipulation transparent. I called Mark. He confirmed John was struggling, but Susan was lying, exaggerating his pain to lure me back under her control, her plans unraveling. Mark found her diary, detailing her schemes, blackmail with old photos, stealing the locket, the poisoned wine, the conspiracy with Patricia, all to control her son, not to reunite us, but to crush his independence. Relief washed over me like a cool wave, tinged with sadness not for John, but for how far Susan went, burning everything for control, her actions revealing a twisted need. I blocked her number, my fingers steady on the screen, my heart lighter, like shedding a heavy coat in spring. Finally free. Now I live peacefully, my Greenwich Village apartment my sanctuary. Mornings, I sip coffee on the balcony, watching people gather under the Washington Square arch, the air fresh with possibility. Alex and I plan our future. A drive along California's Highway 1, ocean breeze in our hair, maybe a move to Portland. His family treats me like their own, each call a dose of warmth, their voices bright over plates of Sunday roast. A year ago, I was planning a wedding with John, a man whose mother through blackmail, theft, poisoning, and conspiracy tore us apart. She tried to break me, but I stood firm, my heart healing with every step forward, growing stronger. Now I'm building a life with Alex, a man who values me unconditionally, his hand in mine, a promise of trust and partnership. If you were in my shoes, would you have fought for him or chosen freedom and new love? Share your thoughts in the comments and subscribe for more stories. Watch the next video, it'll grip you just as much.